So we're going to start today's session with a tribute to Dr. James P. Smith, who unfortunately passed this past March. For those of you who have been members of I-ELCAP or come to our 46 conferences along the way, you'd be used to Jim having been the person that really kicked off all the meetings. He was the, sort of the senior member of our team. And he gave these wonderful opening addresses to the meetings and told us about his beloved Yankees. I learned more about the Yankees at these meetings probably than I did following them on my own. Jim was just a wonderful guy. And I think when we started I-ELCAP, right from the beginning, from the planning phase, he was really integral in getting it started, in the conceptualizing of the project, along with a few of the other people here. But Jim was the senior pulmonologist. Jim was really kind of the reason that I think we were able to get things started. Screening was very controversial. Even before screening had started, screening had not been successful, and it was viewed as not a fertile area to move things along in. And at Mount Sinai, we even had trouble getting it through our IRB. It was just, and without Jim being, so prestigious, we had actually kind of failed getting it through the IRB on multiple attempts. And Jim just said, I'll take care of it. And the next thing we knew, he went and spoke to the IRB, and right away, we got it through. And I think it was in large part because of his prestige that our institution accepted us doing it. So it really helped move things along. And of course, that wasn't his only contribution. He made many contributions to this along the way, intellectually, and he enjoyed it. And, it was just wonderful having him participate. On a personal note, couldn't think of a better friend. Nothing but wonderful things to say about him. I remember recently when I first learned of his passing, I called my friend Jim Mulshine, and I was telling him about it. And aside from being rather upset, Jim talked about it, and Jim just said to me, when you think about Jim Smith, he really lived the perfect life. Everything he did was really done very well. And so we miss him greatly. And we are fortunate today to have his daughter, Patty, who's going to say a few words on his behalf. So, Patty.
Thank you so much, David. It's a pleasure to be here. My siblings and I are so grateful to be included in this tribute today. After my dad passed, what we learned about him was just astounding. We thought we had the complete picture of who Dr. James P. Smith was, but as we assembled his obituary and went through a lot of the paperwork that he left behind for us in the event of his passing, in a binder that he left for us to follow, and then also from an amazing interview with his dear friend and mentee, Dr. Dan Libby. What we learned, we couldn't believe that we didn't know. The word visionary, pioneer came up over and over. And I think that for us, that was more impactful and incredible than anything else, and says so much about who our dad was. He was gifted, and he knew that those gifts, and believed with all of his heart that it came from God. But then also, he was so humble. We knew what we knew about him professionally, probably from our mom, from patients who would speak freely about how he changed the course of their lives and their families' lives by giving their loved ones more time on this planet. But the accolades certainly that came after his death, we will treasure forever. Our family was his life. And at the same time, so was the hospital, his patients, and for 3 decades, this organization. I saw my dad the day before he died. He was in a great mood. He was a little concerned about some health issues that he had recently, but truly seemed as though he was launching a comeback, at least in his head, from a knee injury that he had, and was still keeping me on point, making sure that his driver's license had been renewed, and really just seemed like he was ready for the future. And as I cooked dinner, he opened his laptop and at one point sort of told me I was going to have to stop talking because he had something that had come from the hospital that he wanted to watch. And it was called, I have to always refer to my phone because I wouldn't remember, An Introduction to Robotic Bronchoscopy by Dr. Eugene Shostak, Weill Cornell Medicine. So I continued cooking dinner and I listened, and I didn't understand a lot of what was being said, but he sat there so intently listening to what I basically would synthesize as saying was a procedure that is now robotically done in endoscopy with an Xbox-like remote control. So here he is at 89 listening to what sounded very futuristic to me, and he was so dialed in and interested. And it was so I don't know, just mesmerizing to me that I took out my phone while I was cooking and I put the phone down and hit record to just covertly record him watching this so that I could share it with my siblings and my children, and having no idea that the next day he would pass. So I think that just says so much about him. And in the same way that I look at my siblings, my children, my nieces and nephews, and know that he lives on and his legacy lives on in us, I know that with Claudia and David and with this organization, that his life's work and what I think meant probably the most to him in his career continues today and for all the years to come. So thank you for being here and for honoring him and being his friend.